All right, get ready to dive into a world where art and math collide, where what you see is both fascinating and a little bit unnerving. We're tackling M.C. Escher's print gallery, a lithograph that's been messing with people's minds for ages.
It's true. Print gallery has this way of making you feel like something's off, like it's not quite adding up. You've got this seemingly straightforward scene, a young man, an art gallery. He's looking at a picture of a seaside town, but then your eye starts to follow the lines of the architecture, and it just sort of dissolves into this impossible space.
Yeah, the more you try to make sense of it, the more your brain wants to short circuit.
Exactly. That distorted perspective, that's what really throws people off, makes them feel a bit uneasy.
You know, it's funny you should say that. It reminds me of the first time I saw one of those impossible staircases, the ones that seem to go up forever but somehow loop back on themselves. I remember just staring at it, convinced I could figure out, even though I knew it was an optical illusion. Escher, he really had a way of playing with our perception, didn't he?
He absolutely did, and the way he wove mathematical principles into his art, especially in print gallery, is just masterful. But here's the thing, he wasn't always working from detailed plans, which makes it even more intriguing.
Wait, really? I mean, print gallery is so complex. How on earth did he create something like that without meticulous planning?
Well, let's take that central void, for example, that swirling emptiness right at the heart of the image. That wasn't something he sketched out beforehand, it emerged as he worked, almost as if the image itself was guiding his hand.
Wow, so you're saying the void, in a way, chose him, not the other way around? That's wild. But speaking of the void, it's not just an empty space, is it? There's something more to it, right?
You're right on the money. It's not empty at all. Think of it as the point where the image should logically connect, where the loop should close. But because of how Escher warped the perspective, that connection never quite happens.
It's like a visual representation of a paradox, something that can't exist in the real world.
Precisely. It's the point where the image folds in on itself, creating this sense of infinite regress.
No wonder it freaks people out. It's like looking into infinity, isn't it?
That's the beauty of Escher's work. It provokes such a wide range of reactions. Some people are captivated by the mystery of that void, while others find it, well, a little unsettling, to say the least.
I can totally see both sides, like staring into the abyss, a mix of terror and fascination. But here's something interesting. It wasn't just art lovers who were drawn to print gallery. Mathematicians, I got hooked on it too, spent decades trying to unlock its secrets.
And it was actually a mathematician, Hendrik Lenstra, who finally cracked the code back in the 1990s. His tools of choice, complex numbers and conformal mapping.
Okay, those sound, well, pretty complex. Can you explain what Lenstra did in a way that even someone who barely scraped by in high school math could grasp?
Absolutely. Picture a grid, like the ones Escher used in his work. But instead of just squares, think of each point where the lines cross as a complex number.
Okay, a complex number being, refresh my memory on that one.
Sure, it's a number with two parts, a real part, and an imaginary part. You can think of them kind of like coordinates on a map.
Right, like an X and a Y.
Exactly. Yeah. And conformal mapping, that's a way of stretching and distorting that map, like those weird projections you see of the Earth. But the key is it keeps the angles the same.
So even if the distances get all wonky, a right angle stays a right angle.
You got it. Lenstra used this to kind of unfold Escher's print. Imagine flattening out a crumpled piece of paper. And here's the amazing part. When you do that, that central void, that swirling abyss we talked about, it transforms into this smooth, continuous flow of imagery.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying the void isn't really a void at all?
Exactly. It's just a point where the image folds in on itself, kind of like if you took a picture of a mirror reflecting another mirror, you'd see what seems like an infinite regress, but it's all just reflections.
Wow, my mind is officially blown. So Escher captured this super complex mathematical concept in his art, like decades before mathematicians even fully grasped it themselves.
That's the beauty of Escher's work. He was working with this intuitive understanding of geometry and perspective, pushing the boundaries of what you could even do visually. And in doing so, he stumbled onto something truly profound.
It's like he was speaking a language that both artists and mathematicians could understand, even if they didn't have all the same words for it. But, even without getting into the heavy math, print gallery is just such a mesmerizing piece. You mentioned Escher's fascination with infinity earlier, and you can really feel that in this lithograph.
Absolutely. That sense of infinite regress, the way the image seems to repeat inwards forever, drawing your eye deeper and deeper. Escher, He was captivated by the concept of infinity, and he found ways to represent it visually, not just in print gallery, but in so many of his works.
It's like those mind-bending tessellations he's so famous for, right?
Exactly. Or even those impossible staircases we were talking about before. It's like he's inviting us to explore these worlds beyond our normal perception, where the rules of reality are bent and twisted.
It's interesting you mentioned mathematicians being drawn to print gallery. And it makes sense. Math, when you really think about it, it's about exploring the unseen, the abstract, the infinite too.
That's a really cool connection. Escher's work gives us this visual language for those mathematical concepts, making them something you can connect with and understand even if you aren't, a math whiz.
So he was bridging the gap between art and math long before mathematicians could even fully explain what he was doing. He was a true visionary, seeing and expressing things that others couldn't even imagine back then.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, if Escher hadn't created print gallery, would mathematicians have eventually arrived at these same principles on their own? Or was it his artistic vision that sparked their curiosity, that provided that missing piece of the puzzle?
Now, that's a question worth pondering. It speaks to how interconnected different fields of study really are, how art can inspire science and vice versa. But I'm curious, creating something as intricate as print gallery, with all that detail and precision, that must have been incredibly painstaking work.
Oh, absolutely. And don't forget, this was all done way before computers. Every line, every curve, meticulously crafted by hand. He used grids, he carefully calculated his transformations, but there's no denying that element of intuition at play, too. Remember how we talked about the central void emerging organically as he worked?
Yeah, it's like the artwork took on a life of its own, almost guiding him towards its final form.
And that's what makes it so extraordinary. It's a testament to his skill, his vision, his ability to seamlessly blend that mathematical precision with pure creative expression. The result is a work that's both intellectually stimulating and visually stunning.
You can really lose yourself in the details. The way he plays with depth and recursion, it's like looking through a window into this endless series of reflections, each one a little different, yet all connected.
And the way he achieved that sense of depth, that recursion, it goes back to his mastery of conformal transformations. Remember, that's the mathematical concept that allows you to distort distances while preserving angles. It's like stretching a rubber sheet that has a drawing on it. The shapes distort, but those essential relationships remain intact.
So even though the perspective in print gallery is totally skewed, there's this underlying mathematical order holding it all together.
Precisely. It's that delicate dance between order and chaos, between the familiar and the strange, that makes print gallery so captivating. And for some, it can be unsettling, even disturbing, that endless recursion, that feeling of falling into the void. It can be a bit overwhelming.
I can definitely see that. It's like Escher's challenging our very perception of reality, forcing us to question what we see and how we see it.
Exactly. He wants us to look beyond the surface, to embrace the mystery and wonder that lie beneath. And isn't there a certain beauty in that unease, a reminder that the world is a far stranger, far more wonderful place than we often give it credit for?
Absolutely. It's about embracing the unknown, finding joy in the mystery. It's through that exploration, that willingness to step outside our comfort zones, that we often make the most profound discoveries.
Yeah, Escher's own journeys played a role in shaping his artistic vision. He drew inspiration from the Alhambra Palace in Spain, with its intricate tile work and repeating patterns.
Right, the Alhambra, a masterpiece of Islamic art, it's famous for its use of geometric patterns and tessellations, concepts that Escher would go on to explore extensively in his own work.
Exactly. We may not see direct architectural references to the Alhambra in print gallery, but those fundamental principles of symmetry and repetition, they're definitely there.
It's like he took those ancient principles and breathed new life into them, created something that feels both timeless and remarkably modern at the same time.
And that's part of what makes his work so enduringly relevant. He was able to tap into something fundamental about the human experience. Our fascination with patterns, with infinity, with the very limits of our perception.
It's amazing to think he created all of this without the aid of computers. Every single line, every detail, meticulously done by hand, makes you appreciate the level of craftsmanship and dedication that went into print gallery.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just technical skill, it was a deep understanding of mathematical principles, a feel for geometry and perspective that you can't just calculate your way to.
Okay.
He wasn't copying, he was creating entire worlds with their own internal logic.
It's mind-boggling. Really makes you wonder what Escher could have done with today's technology. I bet he would have been blown away by the possibilities of computer graphics.
Oh, without a doubt.
Hmm.
But, there's a part of me that thinks he would have always come back to that hands-on approach, that direct connection between the artist and the material.
You're probably right. There's a certain magic in the physical process. But it's still incredible that we can now visualize and interact with his work in ways he probably never imagined. Like we talked about before, seeing print gallery unfold infinitely on a computer screen, it's like stepping inside Escher's mind.
Exactly. It gives us a whole new level of appreciation for his genius. We can see the structure beneath it all, how it fits together so elegantly, so precisely.
We've talked about Escher the artist, Escher the mathematician, but what about Escher the man? Anything you can tell us about his personality, his inspirations, what he thought about this incredible artwork he created?
Well, we get glimpses from his writings and interviews, and it seems like his mind was always observing, always questioning, looking for new ways to see the world. He was a bit introverted, from what I understand, but also playful, witty, had this deep appreciation for the beauty of the natural world and the math behind it all.
Sounds like he was drawn to the elegance and order of mathematics, but also to the mystery, the wonder that lies at its heart.
Exactly. You see that reflected in his work, this sense of both precision and playfulness, of logic and imagination. He wasn't afraid to embrace paradoxes, to make us question our own assumptions about what's even possible. And Print Gallery, well, it embodies all of that.
It's more than just a visual puzzle. It's an invitation to explore the infinite possibilities of how we see and imagine.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And it's a true testament to his brilliance that Print Gallery continues to amaze and inspire us, even decades later.
So after diving deep into this world of distorted perspectives, complex math, and the mind of a visionary, what have we learned?
We've been reminded that art and math, while they might seem like separate worlds, can be beautifully intertwined, that there are always new ways of seeing, new layers to discover, even in things we think we already understand.
M.C. Escher's Print Gallery, it's a testament to the power of human creativity and our boundless fascination with the infinite. It's a reminder to never stop being curious, to always question what we think we know, and to be open to finding those hidden connections all around us.
And sometimes those connections, they lead us on the most unexpected journeys, Print Gallery. If it could be expanded infinitely, who knows what else we might find hidden within those patterns.
Now that's a thought I'll be chewing on for a while. A truly deep dive into the world of M.C. Escher. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to check out the show notes for more information about Print Gallery and the rest of Escher's incredible work. Until next time, keep exploring.